Nope. Yes is not here. What's up, Ryan?
Hello.
What's up, Sora? Do you support Trump as president?
I don't think Trump is terrible for America, which is what the prompt says.
So, do you support Trump as president? Yes or no?
Yes. I don't
Okay.
think he's terrible for America.
Okay. So you do support the Trump presidency. Sounds good. Measy23. Are you MAGA?
Oh, Maga to the core.
Okay. Wow. We got it too. Let's see if we can get a
Wait,
third.
how do we
real
do
quick.
this?
See if we could get a third.
How's it
real
going?
quick. Oh. Okay. Well, that first guy literally just left. So it looks like it's just you, Measy. Oh no, they're actually still here.
Wait, who goes first?
I'm gonna mute you two for 1 second. John, do you support Trump?
Yes.
Okay. All right. We have 3 Trump supporters. Look at that, Parker. You want to do a 2v3?
Let's do it. Let's do it. So, why do y'all still support Trump, even though the emails just dropped?
Okay, so I feel like before I answer that, can I ask you a question? Is that possible?
Yeah.
No.
Oh.
Okay. Well, Okay. No. All right, then I won't. My question was going to be that I asked myself basically is it possible that Trump's doing everything he's supposed to be doing, right? He's good for the country, and it's just been nonstop, just trying to take him down, take him down, take him down. Is it possible that this is just another one of those? You know what I mean? You're quick to believe it.
Considering the fact that these were emails from the Epstein estate released by Congress, absolutely not.
What makes you think that they're fake or they're hoax? Or is it literally just because you feel like Trump couldn't possibly have done this? Or is it like some evidentiary basis or reasonable basis?
I would say like just take it back to like before this. It was collusion with Russia. It was it's just
with Russia,
countless things.
So collusion with Russia was like an allegation, which was ultimately proved half true. Okay,
Half.
Right? But like now with these emails, these aren't like an allegation by a Democrat. These are just simply records from Epstein's estate.
Well, technically they're brought up by the Democratic Party, so I guess you can say
but it's not the Democratic Party making a claim. It's Democrats in Congress releasing emails that Epstein had sent.
Also, when Parker said that...
Can you respond to that? Hey, guys, can you respond to that?
Yeah.
This isn't just like the Democratic Party making a claim. These are emails from the Epstein estate that he had sent.
Yes.
I feel like that's a fair point, except for the fact that, Biden and everybody, the Democrats were just in power. Why weren't these released then, right?
Well, so, I mean, this argument was popular before we actually knew some of the contents of these files to basically argue that Trump's not in them, right? Now, the issue with that is now that we've seen these emails, we've learned that Donald Trump knew about the girls, knew what Epstein was doing, and was still best friends with him, didn't care, did nothing. Now that we've learned
I don't think they were best friends. He kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago.
Yep, you have to look at the year of the email.
Right.
Like everyone knew by that time what he was doing.
And the guy he was emailing was the Treasury for Obama.
Right. It wasn't the Treasury for Obama. It was Larry Summers, who was the Secretary of Treasury for Clinton.
And Obama.
Okay, so Larry Summers served under Obama too.
Yes. Here's the truth. I wouldn't support Trump if I believed for a second that he was a kitty fiddler or whatever you want to call it. If I believed that for half a second, I wouldn't support Trump at all.
If these files, right? Here's my honest take. If these files didn't incriminate Trump, then he would be selling these files for $55 at all the Trump hotels. Okay? If these files didn't incriminate Trump, then he wouldn't be calling it an act of hostility to vote for their release in Congress, and he wouldn't be calling them a hoax, then in his next breath arguing that they're not a hoax because they incriminate the Democrats. If these files didn't incriminate Trump, then he wouldn't be saying that all Republicans who care are dumb, and we should just all stop talking about it and ignoring reporters when asked about it inside of the Oval Office. Right now, the White House is in crisis mode because the country is growingly moving against the administration via an assumption predicated on the facts released in the emails and the direct contents of the emails themselves. If it wasn't bad for Trump, he would turn around, say, here are all the files. I'm God. I'm perfect. I'm nothing. I didn't do anything wrong. And he wouldn't be digging and hiding them to such a grave extent.
It's not that. It's that this is distracting America from the real problems. There's no CPI report. There's no economic data for the last 44 days. It's not
because of Trump.
And
yes, it is.
If this was distracting the Americans from the real problems,
that's the real problem right now.
If these files were distracting Americans from the real problems and Donald Trump wasn't in them, then he would release the full files, prove his innocence, so Americans could stop being so distracted.
if it's possible that it is distraction, just follow me on this for a little bit, right? You know what I mean? This, whatever the next thing is, whatever the previous thing was to try and, distract us from whatever Trump doing. Would you admit that other than that character stuff that I don't think is true, but you do, is Trump is good for the country?
No.
For his policies?
No, his policies are absolute dog shit. Like, he's not only bad personally, he's not only bad as a leader for the country, he's not only bad as as an individual, but he's also bad for the country in terms of policy.
Right.
Do you believe that Epstein's a good judge of character?
Is Epstein a good judge of character? Probably not.
Because the email says that Trump is the worst person I know, and you guys are
and wait. Does Epstein know a lot of child rapists?
He does, but is he a good judge of character?
But not necessarily. Like, this is supposed to show as a mechanism that's bad for Trump. He thinks that he's like worse than all the other people that he's known. I think that a claim from a bad person about who else is also bad could be a valid assertion, like in this particular context, especially given that it's a private email. Right? That doesn't mean that I think what he says is reliable in general. That just means that I think
Stalin is a bad person.
Like, I think it would be a valid claim specifically if it's personal people around them to claim that they're particularly bad or worse than other individuals. I think it's a reference. It's a basis for reference because he knew a lot of child rapists and he knew the type of behaviors that Donald Trump engaged in. He can obviously make an assertion, yet he was still close friends with him. So he's not a good judge of character because he decided to stay friends with a guy that is so horrible under his own perspective.
But he never claims to call any of the other child rapers like bad people, but only Trump a bad person.
Well, no, he said he knew lots of other bad people.
Okay.
Right? He just said that Trump might be the worst out of all of them.
I thought that these files were going to expose everything. But have you even gone through the Google Drive? It's just screenshots of books he had in his study, like some court documents, some financial information, a couple emails with Trump's names being mentioned. It doesn't implicit Trump.
I think the Democrats didn't release it when they were in power because all their friends are on it too.
There's no one's name. It doesn't expose anything.
That's the thing. That's the thing. All their friends are on it too. So what you're saying is that Trump is on the files, but so are some Democrats. My position and my response would be, regardless of the political affiliation of the affiliates of Epstein, regardless of what that political affiliation was, put them in jail and lock them up. I don't care if it's Bill Clinton. I don't care if it's Obama. I don't care if it's Joe Biden. I don't care if it's Kamala Harris. If they are guilty, throw their asses in jail. And that's a difference between me and you, because what you'll say,
I agree.
You all agree.
Yes.
I just don't think this is how he handles scandals.
His names are mentioned in the files, but it's not like, you know what I'm saying?
There hasn't been explicit evidence that shows he's been with a child yet.
So there hasn't been explicit evidence exactly suggested from the release of the file so far that prove that he raped a child, in reference to Epstein and the documents yet, which is why we all unanimously need to support the full release of the files from Congress. The only people that support that today are the Democrats. Why?
But I don't understand
why.
There's a few Republicans.
Okay, there's a few Republicans, MTG, Nancy Mace, 4 others, and that number only continues to grow, by the way. But why? Why doesn't Donald Trump support the full release of these files?
I mean, the day of Charlie Kirk's assassination, there was a Senate hearing to release it, and the Republicans did block that.
Right, exactly. Why does Donald Trump consider an act of hostility against his administration for these files to be released? Why did he sit down? Why did he sit down with what's her fucking name? Drunk drove, cheated on her husband, gave another dude a BJ in a movie theater. Representative from Colorado. What's her name? Does anybody know?
No, you could be describing any one of my exes.
Boebert.
But listen,
Boebert. So, why did the administration sit down with Lauren Boebert and tell her to take her name off of the pledge to force the full release of the files? Why don't they make them public?
Let me answer your question. Okay, so it's either one of two things: A, they're trying to hide that Trump is a graper, or B, they realize, which is what I believe, is they realize that that's just going to be another distraction. Right, and they're just trying to avoid that.
Wait, what on the files would be a distraction that they want to avoid?
I think the files.
Okay, like for instance, if it doesn't implicate him in some stuff, but it's like, so he, he hung out more just Epstein stuff. It's just going to be a distraction from actually getting stuff done.
But what's a bigger distraction? Like the House subcommittee slowly releasing the files in small batches, right? Incriminating Trump in a similar way to what you just suggested, while also growing more nationwide resentment and a larger call for the total release, or just merely the total release?
Here's the embarrassment. I think these files implicit past presidents, senators, and House representatives. And why are we trying to embarrass America? Like, why are we putting America on the stand right now?
Predators accountable.
And making us look bad.
To hold predators accountable.
You guys made us wait. You guys made us look bad by voting Trump for president. That's who made us look bad. I'm sorry. That's the reality.
The whole Bill Clinton and Monica Lewinsky, we handled that with class. Like, right? But what we're doing now is it's like a madness show.
Wait. So you think impeaching a president for cheating on his wife in the Oval Office was handling it with class, but yet then supporting a president who launched the largest internal attack on the American democracy since the Civil War by installing fake votes for himself in Congress, then having his supporters assault cops, smear their shit on the walls inside the Capitol, then pardoning them and calling them patriots, is also handling it with class? How so?
If he really is a child rapist, as they say, then impeach him for that. But it hasn't been done since, right? If there's all these evidence that both sides of parties have,
why won't you respond to what I just said? Because what you just said is that the way this country handled Monica Lewinsky and Bill Clinton was with class, when the immediate response was an impeachment. Donald Trump does something worse than cheat on his wife in the Oval Office nearly every single week at this point, and you continue to support him. Why is that? And if you want very specific examples of things that Donald Trump has done that I think are a billion times worse than what Bill Clinton did, feel free to ask.
During his presidency?
Yeah.
Could we get 3?
Yeah, for sure. One of the big ones is what I just went over was J6 when he launched his fake elector scheme to coup this country and rig the outcome of the election by sending fake slates of electors to 7 different key swing states that Biden had won, and he sent them with fake votes from those states that say he won them, and then he asked them to send those votes back to Congress, and then he pressured Mike Pence into certifying them as real, and then he told his supporters to fight like hell to get our country back, which led to them breaking into the Capitol, assaulting and trying to kill police officers, smearing
Let me ask you
on
this.
the walls.
Do you think
Patriots and pardon them? This alone, right, is around 1,000 times worse than what Bill Clinton did with Monica Lewinsky. I don't want a deflection. I don't want to pivot. I don't want you guys to muddy the waters. Just agree or disagree. Is that worse?
It depends. Do you believe that I hate answering your question with a question. It makes me look, but I promise I'll answer your question. I swear to God. But listen, do you believe that? But in order to do it, do you believe that Trump believes that that election was stolen, or do you think that he believes he lost and is trying to go against it?
Dude, if Bill Clinton believed that Monica Lewinsky was Hillary, I don't think it would have made it any better. Just like if Donald Trump believed that he actually won the election, I don't think it would have made it any better. I don't think that it matters because at the end of the day, right, he lost the election.
And he doesn't have basis for it. He doesn't have evidentiary basis, regardless of whether or not he thinks so. He's trying to undermine the election with no evidence. None of that evidence was accepted in court. 60 plus court cases, no sufficient evidence to overturn the election, and yet he still says it to this day that he won the 2020 election. Right? At this point, it's either that he knows he's lost or he's absolutely stupid and believes it with no evidence.
I think he knows he lost. He just can't backpedal from his
Can't all
words
three
from
speak
the
at
past.
once. You guys can't all 3 speak at once. Remember, we're still on the topic. Is Donald Trump's attempted coup of our government in 2020 worse than Bill Clinton cheating on his wife in the Oval?
Yeah, I hate talking about that topic. I just
January 6th was a very intense and bad day.
Yes, it is, because blowjobs are better than no jobs.
Wait, can you answer this question though? Specifically, is it like which one is it? Did he?
Oh no!
Did he actually? 6th, does he know that he won, or does he not? Does he not know that he won? Which one do you think it is?
I believe he knows he lost, and he can't backpedal his words because
I disagree.
But counter argument. Bill Clinton did say he did not have. He lied to the whole country on live camera. I remember it like it was yesterday.
Yeah,
I was watching it with my dad.
You're right. I think that Bill Clinton lying to the whole country does make it worse.
And that holds
just like Donald Trump turning around and pardoning Rudy Giuliani and John Eastman, his two lawyers that helped orchestrate this fake electors plot, while denying the fake. Well, he actually didn't even deny the fake electors plot. He admitted to it in court. That's my evidence. But denying that Biden had won the election and still denying that until this day, right, is lying to the whole country as well, while actively covering up and defending those that helped perpetuate his plot to steal and rig the election.
I mean, I guess we all pardon who helped us. Didn't Biden pardon?
Okay, but what about the buses that were sent to New York?
What about the asylum seekers and the immigrants and the trans
people?
Yeah, don't forget the trans people too, right?
Is it okay?
Right?
Is it okay?
And women. Yeah. Oh, and the LGBTQ plus in the school.
Well, I'm of the camp that I can admit when Trump is wrong on some stuff, probably more than Trump can, but it's still better than the alternative. You know what I mean? I'm a Trump supporter, but not in the sense of like, I ain't gonna wear no red hat.
So how is Donald Trump, right, a man who tried to rig the outcome of a presidential election and coup or government, better than the alternative, who was Kamala Harris?
Well, the alternative was promoted as king of the Democratic Party without even going through a due process of being voted as the nominee.
Dude, this is a really bad time to bring up that shitty argument, considering the fact that you're arguing this is why she's worse than the person that actually tried to coup a real election.
I think he's shaming the Democratic Party, not her herself.
Wait, secondly, a vice president steps up when the president steps down. Of course, that makes sense when we voted for the Biden-Harris ticket in the primary. Everyone knew that Harris was the vice president. Everyone knew that it would make most sense in that circumstance for her to step up. That's why no one decided to run against her. That's why even Newsom himself, who would have fucking run if it made sense to run, literally was immediately going to give her his support right away, and did that, and talked about how he literally supported her right away and didn't even think about running himself. He'd be the first person to run in that circumstance, right?
He still had his ticket left as the governor of California.
Okay,
and he
still would have run. It would have made sense for him to run, though.
JD Vance left his ticket as the senator of Ohio. So,
hey, Dean, I gotta go, but hey, listen, I'll start in for president.
Nancy Pelosi herself even said there should have been a due process, and
that's Nancy Pelosi's opinion. That's totally fair. And actually, I think that that could have happened specifically if it was the case that there was a if he dropped out prior to even running in the first place. Like Biden should not have even run for the 2024 election.
I think he was
in the first place.
I think the person that's really at fault for the lack of a primary in 2024 was Biden. Right? I think that he I think that he forced those conditions. Which one? I think that he forced those conditions.
I'm shocked hearing that.
I think that he forced those conditions upon Kamala Harris to have to step up, and he forced those conditions upon the Democratic Party to forego like an actual primary process because he dropped out of the race 107 days before it. But in no way do I think that this makes Kamala Harris worse than Donald Trump, considering the fact that a primary process of a private political organization is not a fixture nor function of the American democracy. It's not outlined by the Constitution. It is not an election of the state, but rather the election of a private political organization. Meanwhile, J6, on the other hand, what I just went through about Donald Trump's fake elector plot and attempted coup of the state was in violation of the processes as detailed by the Constitution, a function in a manner of the state, which is objectively about 1 billion times worse. Okay.
But it didn't go through, so nothing happened out of it.
Okay, well, you're just saying that he tried to coup the country and failed. I have a question. If a man tried to rape a little girl but failed, would he still be a threat to children?
Yes.
So therefore, when Donald Trump tries to coup this country and its democracy but failed, he's still a threat to this country and its democracy.
Because there's more legal things that go into it than someone taking advantage of. Could I just get a yes or no?
I don't want a because, I want a yes or a no. Do you agree or do you disagree? Is Donald Trump a threat to the American democracy because he literally tried to coup it?
I think he's a force, not a threat.
Okay, so
what, dude? Okay,
so he's not a threat to the democracy, even though he tried to end it.
I don't think he's a threat to democracy because he clearly got elected this second time around.
No, he's a threat to democracy because in the past he's literally tried to undermine it. That's the point we're trying to make. And he's gone so far as to pardon the violent rioters who beat police officers on January 6th. I don't think you understand how far that's going in terms of an undermining of the integrity of our democracy. You do not get it.
So pardoning
just like actually Cope. I just want nothing more than a yes or a no. Okay, and I think this is going to expose the pure copium that we're all like sniffing off of you two right now. Would it make somebody a threat to this country's democracy if they were to launch a genuine attack and an assault on an election to change its outcome illegally?
Yes.
Yes, but those weren't
That
the
is what Donald
circumstances.
Trump did with his fake electors plot, where he tried to install fake votes for himself in Congress on J6, right? To install himself for a second term and void the voice and the vote of the people that screamed Biden, Biden, Biden. I understand that he failed in this attempt, but in the same way, if a man tried to rape a girl and failed, he'd still be a threat to children. Donald Trump tries to coup this country and rig the outcome of an election and fails, he's still a threat to the democracy. You can't deny that.
Yeah, but he won fair and square the third time.
Okay, so you're just saying that he
back
won
in
fair and square.
2024.
It was won fair and square in 2024. That doesn't change that he's a threat to our democracy because of what he did in 2020.
I think the real threat to democracy.
I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear a pivot. I don't want to hear a real
talk
threat.
about that?
No.
Okay.
I don't want to hear a pivot. Can we agree that what
I
Donald Trump
gave
did
you
with
my
his
answer,
electors
yes.
plot was a
I
threat
said
to
yes too.
democracy?
I think yes.
Okay,
yes.
so now at this point, we have gotten two Trump supporters to concede that Donald Trump did indeed launch the largest
my
internal
God.
attack on the American democracy since the Civil War, and he is indeed a threat to the democracy, yet they still support him as president. Yet they still fucking support him as president. You can't make this shit up. This is a goddamn joke.
Because we're fighting the good cause. Look what Schumer's trying to do to our country. Shut down and not have federal workers pay for what, 46, 47 days?
Dude,
It's
actually,
madness.
Trump himself has blamed the president in the past specifically for not being able to get people to come together and actually keep the government afloat. The longest shutdown in U.S. history happened under Trump. Not only is this one time happened under Trump, but it's also happened in 2018. He had two different government shutdowns under his administrations. He's been in office for less than 5 years.
But how many times did we try to reopen the government in the past month?
They literally just did the same CR over and over again without even negotiating. You understand that's not actually going to get the country to stay afloat and to actually keep going. They have to actually negotiate. And also, they were literally, I just want to let you know, they were offered an amendment specifically to take the $40 billion that was going to go to Argentina and specifically to put that into 2 years for the ACA subsidies to be continued. They cared more about sending $40 billion to Argentina than they cared about reducing healthcare insurance premiums for people who are in this country who are American citizens. They don't give a shit about you. They don't give a shit about your healthcare access. They care more about sending money to countries around the world to bail them out instead of
America. Say something about that $40 billion.
So you guys cared so much about America first until Trump actually gets into office, and then you completely forget about it.
Parker, can I say something about that $40 billion? First of all, it was a $20 billion currency swap. It's still our money. We hold that money.
Yes.
And if their currency goes up, we're gonna actually make some money.
But the point is, in the context of the bill, we could take that $40 billion and we could put that into people specifically who need it. And the currency that you're getting in terms of a swap is not stable. Are you kidding me?
But we're trying to stabilize their currency.
I understand you're trying to stabilize their currency because of the destructive, literally destructive anti-social program policies that they run on. Like the leader of the country was an extreme like ANCAP type libertarian, and they were literally rolling back different types of social programs.
I just think your party goes around that $40 billion.
The Democrats in Congress are goddamn patriots. Well, at least the ones that didn't vote to reopen the government.
You wanted the government to stay closed?
Yeah, because I wanted to negotiate to keep the ACA subsidies.
But you don't negotiate during the shutdown.
I don't think that the health and well-being of the working class is a negotiable. Okay, and if you suggest that the Democrats should have, no, you're listening to me. I'm speaking. You're listening. I don't think that the health and well-being of the working class is a negotiable. Do you agree or do you disagree?
I agree.
And that is exactly why those Democrats are patriots, because they told the Republicans, we are not willing to negotiate the health and well-being of the working class, which has millions of members that are reliant on Medicaid through the Affordable Care Act to be able to go to the hospital, to be able to get that annual physical checkup, right, and to be able to keep their premiums, which are already high, keep them from going higher. I mean, like literally, like the average family in Maine that is reliant on Medicaid, right, today is expected to have their premiums jump by $16,000 per year, right, if these subsidies go unfunded, all right? The Democrats are patriots for ensuring that the Republican Party under Trump, right, couldn't spend $4.5 trillion on a bill to give vast tax cuts to the ultra-wealthy, then scream, oh, fuck, because they're overspending, then try to course correct by defunding a subsidy that keeps healthcare costs low for millions of middle and low income earners in this country. All right. And I'm so sorry that you're blinded by your own prejudice. I'm so sorry that you're blinded by your own fucking like parroting talking points of Trump and legitimate political propaganda in order to be able to see that. And it's incredibly sad and sickening for the future of this country if you're going to turn around and say that those Democrats are terrible and a threat to this country, literally something that had left your mouths just because they didn't think that the health and well-being of the working class was a negotiable. Yes, you said that Chuck Schumer was a threat to democracy because of the government shutdown.
That was lazy.
Dean, do you not remember Biden extended the ACA? What do you call it?
Subsidies.
Yeah, my bad. I lost my train of thought for a second. And he said himself, it's unsustainable. So we're going to set a limit, an expiration date on these like subsidies. It was your own party who set that rule. We didn't set the rule to expiration at this exact date. They knew it was not sustainable, so they set a limit to it. We extended the subsidies because of the COVID.
We have to re-agree on funding every single year.
Yes.
Like the subsidies, stopped going out for the same reasons that the money that was going into the pockets of the 1.3 million federal employees stopped going out. Right? Like there wasn't a limit set on how long federal employees were guaranteed an income. No, it just so happens to be the case that we have to agree on that every single 360.
The price is still the same in play. It's just not expanded. And it's going to go back to court. No, is it not?
So the prices are expected to skyrocket. I already gave you those figures and you could see more. Once again, the average family in Maine relying on Medicaid is expected to see an increase in their premiums of upwards of $16,000 per year.
Yeah, but you assume that these like insurance companies are going to keep their prices that high. That's not how capitalism works. If they keep their prices this high, people will not renew their insurance. Their bottom line is going to hurt.
People will lose their insurance, which is going to happen. Actually, it's estimated millions of people will lose their insurance because of this.
And at the same time, these insurance companies' bottom lines will go down. The stock is going to go down. They're going to realize, oh, shoot, we need to lower our premiums.
They only can reallocate so much. Of course, they're going to try to do that to some degree.
What you're assuming is that there's a perfectly elastic demand of insurance, which is not
true.
He's trying
to say that.
So if the demand of insurance was elastic, then you would be correct, but it's not elastic.
Mm-hmm. Do you understand what that means?
I don't. Educate me on that.
So something that's inelastic, essentially it is the case that if there's a large increase in price, there won't be much of a change in the demand. So it's like a lesser change in demand, right?
But
comparative to the change in price percentage.
Don't you think that's going to hurt these insurance companies' bottom line?
The supply and demand are both going to simultaneously go down?
It essentially means that they can keep their prices high and they won't lose much demand. So they're still going to So they're essentially going to profit more if they increase their prices.
That's assuming people are going to pay.
Since they have an incentive to do it, and other businesses have an incentive to do it, and since there's not much competition in the market, that's what inevitably occurs.
Yeah. So like this is like for the same reason why like emergency rooms can charge like $10,000 for a Band-Aid. It's because it's because the demand is inelastic.
I agree with you. My brother just went to the emergency room. He got charged $8,000.
And the market breaks down. Like if you're in the emergency room, oftentimes people won't be able to actually look at like a price sheet or anything like that, to be able to compare and contrast with other hospitals. They kind of have to go to this one. So that's why the market breaks down in these situations, and it allows for massive levels of corporate greed at the expense of human beings' lives. And I don't think that should be allowed. I believe in a healthcare system for all. I believe in a system that's universalized, that literally provides it for everyone. And I understand that other systems around the world have some issues with some of their systems, but we can build on top of that and do even better. And their systems are significantly better than ours right now. So all we can do is build up from here.
I agree with you, Parker, but I don't think the solution is just to throw more subsidy money at these insurance companies and make them richer and richer.
But the reality is that that's the only way to right now ensure that they get access to the care that they need until we get a broader sort of policy that is going to apply to more people.
Right.
This is the only mechanism. Right. I understand that corporations are going to inevitably profit from this. True. But it is going to ensure that people get their access to care that they need in the system that exists right now, which otherwise would not occur.
Right. Like if Congress wanted to turn around and pass some like godsend healthcare bill just to completely renew and replace the ACA with something genuinely better and get rid of those ACA subsidies in the process, all the fucking power to them. Okay, that is not just what the American people want, it's what they goddamn need. Okay, but matter of a fact, just cutting off that subsidy, increasing premiums for millions by thousands and thousands of dollars per year, telling them to go fish, or more realistically, to go die, right, is just simply not the way that we fix this issue. And you can't just turn around and say people aren't going to die. We already have 40 through 60,000 people that die per year because of lack of access to insurance. Now what's going to happen when people's premiums start going up from $100 a month to $700? Okay, you are forcing, right, a day of reckoning and death upon the American people, and you conceal it by saying this is in furtherance of pro-American goals, which I think is quite frankly sick if you're doing so, right, with the knowledge of it, okay?
Dean, you're right, but now we have 40 days. Congress has 40 days to come up with something.
Yes.
You know? We have time to come up with something.
The thing is, all we got was a trust me, bro. Please, just trust me, please. We're gonna negotiate that time. When they didn't negotiate the entire time that the government was shut down.
Right.
You understand? That's bullshit. I don't fucking believe that.
Donald Trump hasn't been able. Trump hasn't been able to come up with anything in the last 10 years. What makes you think that he's going to come up with it in the next 40 days?
Because it's
literally concepts of a plan. Bro has had concepts of a plan for 10 years. Okay, and I don't even think he actually has a concept. Genuinely, he doesn't even have a concept.
His job is to move the party into a direction, not to pass these laws. It's Congress' job to think of a law.
Wait, if it wasn't the president's job to influence policy, then why do presidents run on it?
He executes the policy. That's his job to execute the policy.
No. Donald Trump didn't run on executing the policy that Congress passed. Donald Trump ran on Agenda 47, which was a policy that he wanted Congress to pass.
Because he influences his party to come up with those policies.
Precisely, that he runs on. So thank you so much for conceding. No, it's not the president sits back on vacation, lets Congress do whatever the hell they want. It's the president actively influencing Congress, right, to build these plans and pass them. Think about the big, beautiful bill.
Yeah, thank God.
Thank God for the bill that kicked 10 million low-income Americans off of healthcare.
Has it kicked them off
big, beautiful bill?
Yeah, thank God for the bill that defunded Medicaid by $900 billion. Thank God for the bill that's kicking 3 million people off of food stamps by defunding food stamps and the USDA by
on average every month.
Or having to make them work.
Thank God for the bill. Thank God for the bill, right, that according to the Center of Budget and Policy Priorities is reducing the purchasing power of the average American at making at or under $51,000 per year. Thank God for the bill that's going to increase energy prices on average by $500 for the average American household by rolling back and defunding clean energy subsidies that are that according once again to the CBPP are projected to reduce our output of clean energy by upwards of 72%, reducing the overall energy production in this country. Thank God for that bill.
Dean, how many simple Americans have freaking solar panels on their roof?
Thank you.
Maybe in Arizona.
There you go. Yeah.
Maybe in Texas. Maybe in Florida. That's it.
Yeah.
Does Parker have solar panels?
So what point did I make that you're trying to contest?
It's just like the energy thing.
The energy thing. Do you want to see the study? It's from the CBO. They're run by Republicans.
Yes.
What's this?
You guys have solar panels. Oh my God, solar panels.
Yeah, just go on Google. Type in CBO. Energy prices expected to soar because of big, beautiful bill. Right? And can we also talk about the 10 million low-income Americans losing access to Medicaid? Donald Trump just said, fuck you.
When does that go into effect, by 2027 or right now?
10 million individuals are expected to lose coverage.
It doesn't go into effect yet.
Years. No, it's not that it doesn't go into effect until 2027. It's that by 2027, this amount of individuals are expected to lose coverage.
But they have the requirements. The people know the requirements. It's not like we're just blindly taking away their health insurance. They're like, hey, this is what you need to do to have Medicaid.
Hours.
The goal of this was to actively take people off their health insurance. That's why they changed the restriction.
Not overnight.
By the way, I don't support a work requirement on Medicaid, and neither should you.
Exactly.
So, but those are the requirements are still
Yeah, but you shouldn't support that requirement. It's evil. I could give you.
Unfortunately, I didn't vote on the bill, and I couldn't vote on the bill.
But this is what should make you not like the bill. But you guys were screaming, "Thank God."
I didn't say thank God for this bill.
Okay, so I just want to clarify, Sora. You disagree with the guy on top, and you think that the big beautiful bill is bad? Okay, Sora doesn't have a response. So, Mizi, you are the one that said
Oh, my bad. I thought you were asking. Yeah, overall, I think there's some bad things to it, and there's some good things.
Okay, but overall,
the way you explain it, with the people losing Medicaid, yes, I think that is tragic, and it's bad that it's going to happen.
Perfect. So what about you, Miz? Do you think that Donald Trump causing 10 million low-income Americans to lose access to Medicaid? Right,
it's not like they're ripping it
from
the
imposition of a work requirement and defunding Medicaid by $900 billion over the course of the next 10 years is tragic and bad?
I think they did that because there's some math and science behind it. People don't just do things because blindly, you know? Like,
yeah, so basically what you're saying is that although I could give you reasons insofar as why it's bad, you're just going to assume that it's good by assuming that Donald Trump had good reason to do it. What you're doing is you're treating Donald Trump like a god. You're basically working backwards. You're not working forwards. Yes, you're working from the conclusion to the premise, not from the premise to the conclusion. You're saying, although, Dean, you could point out these reasons why this is wrong. Although, Dean, right, we could obviously agree that 10 million low-income Americans losing access to health insurance when that's what keeps them alive in many scenarios is bad. You're going to basically assume that Donald Trump had good reason to do it, basically assuming properties of being all good, all knowing, and all powerful onto Trump, like elevating him as if he was a god, which I just think is absolutely so insane. I hear similar similar sophistry and similar apologetics from like Mormons and Christians when I'm debating them about theism. I shouldn't expect to hear this from people just defending a president. At the end of the day, the reason why nobody should support the fact that 10 million low-income Americans are losing access to health insurance because they're defunding it by $900 billion and imposing a work requirement is because we should never support work requirements on essential social services that make this country better as a whole and extend the lifespans of its constituents. Think about it this way. Imagine if we were to impose a work requirement on like your local police force, your local firefighters.
But that's a socialism aspect of our system.
The reason why you would never support that is because it sounds insane to suggest that somebody needs to have a job in order to report a crime or drive on the road. Why? Because in many cases, it's essential to call the cops. It's essential to drive on the roads. These are systems that make society as a whole better off. But in the same way, going to the hospital, getting the annual physical, having access to preventative care is essential to extending the lifespans of American citizens, making society as a whole better off. And I think that you need to acknowledge that and accept truth and deny Trump.
Dean, we all know there's some level of Medicaid fraud. And if we add a few steps that Americans have to hurdle to, it's going to lower that fraud exponentially.
It's actually only going to increase it because it's now going to incentivize individuals, right, in some scenarios to like lie about working when they're not. So in all reality, we'd expect it to increase fraud rates as we would be increasing the barriers to achieving said thing.
You don't think is it hard to fake a job? I don't know.
I'm just saying when you increase the barriers to entry to something, you're going to increase the amount of individuals that attempt to circumnavigate said barriers.
But we're not even there yet to see how these barriers or how we're going to check people.
Okay, so then you're saying that we're not even there yet, therefore you don't know that it's going to reduce fraud, you idiot. That was the point that you just made.
It's because the attempt is to reduce fraud, Dean.
How's it going to reduce fraud?
It's because people are using fake people or fake socials and, claiming all these Medicaid claims on people, and you could just do it blindly.
Wait. If somebody could fake a social, can't they just fake a job?
I think that's a little harder.
Oh, okay.
You need a W-2.
So how about instead of just taking it away from 10 million low-income Americans that aren't faking socials, right, to punish maybe like the 2 or 3 that are?
And they won't have a problem.
How about we just specifically like locate and identify those that are like faking their socials? It doesn't take taking healthcare away from 10 million low-income Americans to target a specific group of people that may be committing fraud and getting access to Medicaid with the use of fraudulent socials. How about we attack the identity fraud compared to attacking 10 million low-income Americans? Come on, bro. That is common sense. And if you deny that's common sense, you're insane. This is literally like suggesting that, well, we should just kick all 42 million low-income Americans off of food stamps because maybe like 10,000 undocumented immigrants are faking socials to get it. No, obviously the solution there is to address the individuals that are faking socials to get it. Oh, this is like saying that we should just kick all like elderly people off of Social Security because maybe like 10,000 people are like faking a social to act as if they're 73. No, we should just specifically attack the individuals that are faking the social, right? Like, come on, dude. Like, just think about it. Use your brain.
Don't you think someone in the boardroom
we should ban people from driving on public roadways so we can prevent people from driving on public roadways without a driver's license? Like, think about it. This is insane.
But Dean, I'm sure someone in that boardroom came up with an idea and we haven't been able to do it for the past 30, 40 years, like That's a very simple idea. It's very logical. But
I just explained how it's not logical. Address the analogies
it's
that I
not
gave
plausible,
you.
though.
Address the analogies that I just gave you to demonstrate that it's not logical. A good analogy to you saying, well, in order to address like low fraud rates of Medicaid,
I'm saying
we
you
need to
are
take
logical.
everybody off of it. This would be similar to saying, in order to address the fact that some people will drive on the public roadways without a driver's license, we should just ban everybody from driving on the public roadways, point blank, period.
No, I'm saying your idea is very logical. I'm just saying we can't execute it. Democrat president or Republican president, we cannot stop this Medicaid fraud. We can't.
So therefore, the solution is to take the Medicaid away?
As a Mexican,
we're not taking it away.
Oh, you are taking it away from 10 million
it.
low-income Americans. That's exactly what you're doing by imposing the work
We're
requirement.
just adding requirements, Dean. We're adding requirements.
The requirement is what is taking it away, silly goose.
It on paper is taken away, but there is a requirement.
Thank you so much for
very
conceding.
very plausibly able to execute.
Like
for the mixed economy, as America's a mixed economy.
I have a question. Per the reports that we've seen from the CBPP and the CBO, right? Can anything that you say change the conclusion that inevitably the best projections that we have indicate that over the course of the next 10 years, 10 million people are going to lose coverage?
Is that projecting that no one's going to work?
That's projecting that 10 million individuals are going to lose coverage.
That can't work 40 hours a month.
I agree with Sora.
Okay, so now you're just saying that you support so now we're going back
I'm
to
just saying,
okay. Do you guys support? Okay, so you don't support the work requirement, so you think that it's wrong?
No, we just it's
100%.
Okay, so wait. Okay, so let's just clear it up.
Mizi,
let's just clear it up. Mizi, do you support the work requirement?
I do support the work requirements, Dean. I do.
Okay, so would you support imposing a work requirement in order to call the police officers?
No,
because part of that is that's the socialist aspect of our mixed economy. Unfortunately,
okay, wait 1 second. So I agree with you guys. I don't think that we should impose a work requirement on calling the cops, but I just want to make it clear here. What are the reasons why you say that, so I can make a parallel to Medicaid? What are the reasons why it would be wrong to impose a work requirement on calling
as America so far? As America for healthcare is not a universal act.
That's not what I fucking asked you. Holy shit! Give me the reasons why it would be wrong to impose a work requirement on calling the police officers.
It is the social aspect of our mixed economy, the firefighter and police force. It is given to us for free as a civil duty.
You're not answering my question. What are the reasons why it would be wrong? No. You are not answering my question. My question for the very last time is, what are the very specific reasons why it would be wrong to impose a work requirement on calling the cops?
It's very wrong. I don't believe there should be a work requirement on healthcare or cops or firefighters.
Oh my god!
But that's just not how.
Oh my god! Why are you not listening to my question, Mizi, Sora? My question is, what are the reasons why it would be wrong to impose a work requirement on calling the cops? Mizi, you go first.
Because people could die. People could get hurt.
People could die. Wow! Look at this. Did you know that if we impose that work requirement on Medicaid and 10 million people lose coverage per the CBO and the CBVP, people could die?
Yeah, but if you're a provider or piece...
Wait, do you just accept that? Yes or no? People could die. Yes or no?
Yes. But if you're a provider...
Okay. Check this out. You said that you do not support imposing a work requirement on calling the cops because people could die, and you just affirmed that people could also die if we impose a work requirement on Medicaid. Therefore, in order for you to maintain consistency, you would be forced into concluding that therefore you don't support a work requirement on Medicaid either. Because if you hold to an alternative view here, then you're arguing a contradiction, that contradiction explicitly being that you don't support imposing a work requirement on calling the cops because people could die, and you do support imposing a work requirement on going to the hospital even though people could die.
Yeah, but there's no one saying that you don't that you deserve or like you should have fire and like police department. Your doctor can instantly state this person cannot work. He does not qualify. He can veto these requirements. He doesn't have to stand by it. He's going to get Medicaid because he can't work. You have someone there, an intermediate, a doctor saying this person can't work.
Okay, and very similarly, if we imposed a work requirement on calling the cops, we'd have an intermediate, a doctor.
But that would never happen.
Shut up, Sora. I'm talking to Mizi. If we impose a work requirement on calling the cops, then we'd also have a doctor, an intermediate, saying, well, if you can't work, then you could still get the benefit, as a work requirement would only apply to individuals that are able to work. So therefore, that's not a difference between the two scenarios.
I mean, no, because even if you don't work, you're still going to get police and fire. But if you can't work, you're going to get Medicaid regardless. And if you could work, you're going to get Medicaid also.
You're tripping.
So, like, I don't understand what the big problem is.
You're just not following me. So I'm making an argument that it'd be wrong to impose a work requirement on Medicaid for the same reasons that it'd be wrong to impose a work requirement on calling the cops. That reason being that people could die.
You're using an argument we already
No, Sora, shut up. I'm talking to Meezy. Shut up, Sora. Go ahead, Meezy.
I just think the two things are very different, and I don't really know how you can. The work requirement on the police and the fire, like, are similar to the work requirements.
Yeah, I got you. I'll explain it. You said that you wouldn't support a work requirement of calling the cops because people could die, right?
Correct.
People could also die if we impose a work requirement on Medicaid, right?
Yeah, but you have an intermediate, the doctor, that's going to protect you.
What do you mean? I'm not tracking.
If you can't physically work, you're going to get Medicaid.
The work requirement is only for people that are able to work.
Then why can't they work?
Okay, for the same reasons that it wouldn't work for imposing it on the cops. Or the reason why you wouldn't support imposing a work requirement of calling the cops for able to work Americans would be because people could die, right?
Yeah, Dean, I agree with you on a lot of things, but I just can't agree with you here, Dean.
Well, the same reason applies. Your brain's just failing to function. The reason why you do not support imposing a work requirement for able-bodied Americans on calling the cops is because people could die, correct?
Yes.
The reason why I don't support imposing a work requirement for able-bodied Americans on Medicaid is because people could die. Why do you see how it's the same thing in both scenarios?
Yeah, but they could go to the emergency room and then they have Medicaid to help them out. You know?
So you're saying that they could go to the emergency room. You understand?
Like we have fallback.
You understand that individuals could die from preventable ailments that not even the emergency room could fix that could have been prevented if they were able to go and get a checkup. People die in the emergency room, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and because people die in the emergency room from preventable ailments, this argument is false. People could still die.
Yeah.
Even if they go to the ER.
It's just that it's unfortunate that the United States has a lot of chronic conditions. I think that's why Obamacare failed, because
so don't pivot. Don't pivot.
As a country, we're not healthy.
Wait.
We're not healthy.
Don't pivot to why you think Obamacare failed and address the argument that I just gave. You said no, people wouldn't die if we were to impose a work requirement for able-bodied Americans on Medicaid, because if they found themselves in a scenario where they were about to die, they could go to the ER. Well, because people aren't always saved in the ER, and people still die in the ER from ailments in which could have been preventable if they had that checkup on Medicaid, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which they didn't have access to because of that work requirement. People can die if we were to impose a work requirement for able-bodied Americans on Medicaid, right? Even if they still had access to go to the ER.
Yeah, because the ER is the last resort, and it can happen. People still die.
Right.
Yes.
They will die from things that could have been prevented if we never imposed that work requirement in the first place on Medicaid, just like people would die from things that could have been prevented if we never imposed that work requirement in the first thing on calling the cops. These two things are identical.
Yeah, Dean, but from my understanding, people on Medicare are either people like, disabled people on Social Security.
Yeah, we're talking about Medicaid, which is low-income Americans.
Medicaid, yeah, like low-income people. Oh, yeah, you're right. It's a difference. Sorry. I always get confused by the two. But, like, I just don't see why they can't work or attempt to work.
Buddy,
Dean, I'm sorry. I can't agree with you.
Buddy. How would you respond?
Why can't someone work?
How would you respond to someone that would say, even though people would die from imposing a work requirement on calling the cops, how would you respond to somebody that would respond to your position by saying, well, they could just go to work?
You're calling the cops because someone's hurting you. That's another human hurting you.
All right. It's like, okay, you understand that maybe like people in these scenarios could work and we should incentivize that work, but we shouldn't incentivize that work through a work requirement on calling the cops. Well, I understand that individuals like could work and we should incentivize that work. We just shouldn't incentivize that work through a work requirement on Medicaid, because just like having the ability to call the cops will prevent unnecessary death. Having low-income Americans having access to go to the hospital on Medicaid, regardless if they're working or not, regardless if they're able-bodied or not, will prevent unnecessary death. It's a parallel argument. If you can't see it, then you're just not using your brain.
I don't see it. I just think we've been doing something a certain way for like a lot of years. I think we need to try something different.
Reality. You're denying reality, and you're not using your brain, even though I've been able to make a perfect one-to-one comparison and analogy to one of your own beliefs. This is as hard and as bad as it gets for you because I was able to use your own logic against you. You could see my concept here perfectly clear as soon as it relates to calling the police officers. You're like, no, Dean, I would never support imposing a work requirement on calling the police officers for able-bodied, low-income Americans, right? Because even though they could work, if they're not and they need to call the cops, they need to call the cops. I want to prevent unnecessary death. They should still be able to access the police force. And even though that's a perfect parallel to Medicaid, low-income Americans able to work, not working, they could work, whatever. We don't want to incentivize that work through Medicaid because guess what? We could prevent unnecessary death by still giving them access to Medicaid, just like we could prevent unnecessary death by still giving them access to call the cops, right? In one scenario, you see it perfectly clear. In the other scenario, you don't see it at all, even though it is the identical logic in both cases. The reason why you could see it in one scenario but not in the other is because you don't operate off of logic. Okay, it's because you operate off of emotion.
Emotion, okay. I think you bring up a good argument, and I think you got me beat here, Dean. And I'm a big fan, so I'm gonna just call it a night. But keep doing what you're doing, brother.
Yeah, you take care, Parker. Mike is yours for like the next fucking like 10 minutes, dude. I'm sorry,
bro. I feel you there. No, you're good. Don't worry. I thought you were. Wait, do you need time off, or are you just saying because you felt like I didn't have enough time to talk?
Yeah, because I was talking the whole time.
No, you're fine. Don't worry.